Okay, so tonight we're here for the event Tuesday, June 20th, 2023. And it is all about the secret revelations of spirit. It is about awakening the hidden to reclaim the forbidden. So we're going to really talk about, what this time of this new earth is. The time of the new earth is now, and we are the ones who are creating it. And these weekly events that I have, it's really about decrypting this cipher, these codes that seem like we're always in search of, just beyond the veil. Ask questions, anything that you may have about anything and everything. We are also going to explore, sacred knowledge and discover lost mystery teachings. Again, we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to ask questions. And tonight, we're really going to be talking about this lost soul technology. It is about revealing these lost mystery teachings. I've been talking about this quite a bit, but it's just only dropping little hints, and we haven't had an opportunity to really be able to delve into this. Give me one moment. Somebody is having an issue connecting. Okay, give me one moment. Pardon me. I want to make sure everybody has an opportunity. So we're talking about technology of the soul. So let's break this down. What does this term even mean? It is technology of the soul. So first of all, what is even technology? Technology is, if you really discover what the word means, is that it's application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes, especially for industry. As an example, it's about machinery or equipment that is developed from application of knowledge, scientific knowledge, or a branch of knowledge, okay? So when we think of what is the soul, okay, so the basic definition, according, these are the basic definitions that are known out there, is that it's a spiritual or the immaterial part of a human or animal. Okay, but this is the definitions directly from the dictionary. Soul is something that is, they're beginning to touch on that. It's an immortal part of us indeed. So really, what does this mean? Technology of the soul. Okay, so we're really looking into about, according to these two definitions and combining them together in this terminology, technology of the soul is the practical application of sacred or hidden knowledge for the purpose of developing and connecting to that which is most sacred, that immortal, that eternal heart of our being human. And that is what we're discovering. That is what this technology of the soul is. So let's break this down, okay? So tonight we're going to cover this most fundamental initial part. I want to answer all the questions we possibly can. And this is the beginning of this journey. So the technology of the soul, tonight we're going to be talking about what I call the access point, okay? And this access point is made up of multiple parts. The first thing is the mind. The mind. We talk a lot about the mind, and oftentimes people will use this interchangeably with the brain, but it's not the brain. The mind is this greater part of ourselves, part that's always thinking, the part that's thinking and listening simultaneously. It's that higher part of ourselves that analyzes, assesses. It's in constant chatter, and is either in service to us or could even hurt us. Okay, so we're talking about the mind. And again, it is different from the brain. And so in the brain, we have two parts, and this is perfect depiction of it. So in the first part, we have a left brain. The left brain is the part where it is all about analyzing, assessing, determining, calculating. It is language. It is mathematics. It is about our spatial perceptions. It is all of our function in the basic human 3D world, okay? The left brain. And then we have this separate hemisphere which is the right brain. And in the right brain, it's a perfect depiction of it. It's about color, feeling, sensations, about connecting. It's about feeling and this sense of unity. It is creativity. It is more in the world of intuition. Now, in our world, this right brain is bombarded and beat up by the left brain. Our left brain ends up saying, shut up, right brain. What do you think you know? Just sit down over there and just, stop focusing, start focusing, stop imagining. So you think of the right brain as that child part of ourselves, that pure essence, that pure soul part, okay? And then the fourth part of ourself that we're talking about with this access point is the heart. Now, the heart is beyond the feeling, it is the intuition, it is quite literally that portal, it is that, what they would say, the kingdom of heaven. The heart is beyond just pumping of our blood. It is the heart center. When they say, oh, my heart aches, it is that part of us that is in eternal service. That's the seat of the soul, okay, the heart. Now, notice here that we have the mind and the left brain, okay? Those are pretty much in unison together. And then we have the right brain and the heart, okay? And what we need to do in order to become and really be able to tap into and understand this technology of the soul, again, it's an ability to tap into that. We need to connect our mind with our heart, okay? And in order to do that, the heart is the portal. The heart is that most central access place. And we're going to talk about that a lot tonight. And using the mind in service to the heart, because the mind beats up the heart, just like the left brain beats up the right brain. These are the parts of ourselves that are masculine. These are the parts into the 3D world. This is the part that is overactive and unruly right now. And we need to get this in service to the heart, okay? And then we also need to get the left brain to be in service to the right brain. We have to allow our left brain to say, yes, you're all great at all these wonderful things, but don't overanalyze and don't take away the knowledge of my wisdom. That is where we get the clear cognizance, clear knowing. I don't know why I know or how I know, but I just know. Okay, we need to get our left brain to stop beating up our right brain. So when we unify the mind with the heart and the left brain with the right brain, then we really come into this, what I call the access point. And that is where there is this sacred spiral of this energy that we have access to. And this is what we're going to discuss tonight. So as we begin to talk about these things, and I bring up these concepts, I want you to begin to just think about like, well, what does this mean? And if you have questions, please ask. We can stop in this moment to be able to have those opportunities. And if you are, shy to ask it out loud, please be sure to put it in the comments. So this is where we must understand, that spiral that we showed in the middle. Let me show this screen one more time with all of these parts together. Give me 1 second. We're going to go through this really quickly. So again, what does it mean with the access point? The access point means that there is something greater and bigger than us. We're beyond our body. We are beyond just this physical plane. We're trying to tap into intuition. We're trying to tap into the unseen. And that is what I'm talking about, the access point. How do we tap into that? Putting the mind in service to the heart, the left brain in service to the right brain, so that we can actually get to that divine, most sacred vortex. Now, this little spiral here, this vortex in the middle, this is quite literally that access point, and that is where you hold what I call that undilute piece of the absolute. And it's a piece of something that you originate from. We all originate from this one unified whole field. You are not separate from it, even if you attempted to. That you are infused in a field of energy. And if you really want to do some deep diving into what all of this actually means, and this is all languages. So we are tapping into both the language of science with the language of biology and neurology so that we can understand the technology of the soul. And that is the whole reason why we're here. We spend so much time on all of the discoveries of the physical things of our world, but we spend very little time, or very few of us spend time on really tapping into these other parts of our reality. And when we actually do, they're hidden, unheard of, and unspoken. So, a wonderful suggestion of a book that I like to really recommend that delves into a lot of these different aspects is called The Field. The Field is written by Lynn McTaggart. She is an investigative journalist, and it's an older book, but there's a lot of information in there. Is anybody familiar with it? Have you heard of it by show of hands? Or okay, okay. So Kylie, yes, wonderful. Thank you so much for showing and raising that. And so yes, she's got a really great example where there are so many different institutes around the world who are trying to discover all of the different sciences, but they're always poo-pooed. They're always made to be like new agey. But now is the exact perfect time for us to come into this technology. So this vortex, this central part, this spiral here, okay? I'm not going to go through the whole thing again, but that central part of the soul, okay? That is that part that we're trying to tap into, and that is the part where we have access to all of the unseen. So let's talk about that for a moment. That's kind of scary, right? The unseen. We're going to tap into what's not seen. Oh my gosh, what's out there? So let's just take a moment, take a breath, that basically our physical eyes only see 6% of the energetic spectrum. Everything that is out there, we are only capable of visualizing and perceiving 6%. So what in the heck is out there in that other 94%? So one quick example is that butterflies see in ultraviolet. Wouldn't that be amazing if we could? Can you imagine walking out into your garden and seeing everything glowing in ultraviolet? Ah, so that's why our butterflies are so important. Oh, I got chills with that one. Okay, somebody is growing gardens specifically for bees and for butterflies. So and I'm really drawn to Kylie in that upper quadrant. So who has a butterfly bee garden? One of you guys do, and it's big. It's a beautiful thing. And if you haven't started it, it's a draw for your soul, and I feel it. So who's got that right now? Come on, somebody's got it. Bees and butterflies, and if it's not you, somebody really close to you. Kylie.
I am house sitting at the moment on a little island off Australia, and there's a beehive, and that's the
Mm-hmm.
first time I'm surrounded by beehives.
Mm-hmm.
My whole life I've been obsessed with butterflies. So if I can find a butterfly, I will go to the butterfly farm because I just think they're absolutely.
I'm really drawn to you, Kylie, like from my screen, though, in the way that I see you. I don't know if everybody sees it in that same direction. So if I'm pointing to you in this way, it's because that's how I see you. And I really felt it so strongly. I actually have chills. That is immense service to the planet. I really do feel you delving into this in a really incredible way. And it even feels like you would volunteer for a bee farm, a butterfly farm, even. It feels like you would do it just specifically for that. And I'm seeing so many beautiful colors and the fragrances. Um, but you're concerned about the creepy crawlers, which I get. I totally get. That's totally okay. But yeah, be out there. It's in service to humanity. And I'm literally hearing all of the buzz and swarm like a hive of bees in my mind's eye, in my mind's ear, if you will. But I can actually visualize that. Oh, yes. Okay. So sorry to have so much emphasis on that, but it's so important. Okay. Um, hmm. So let me come back to purpose with soul. okay? When we feel that God spark within and we really do tap into that, then that is where our passions will flood forward. Okay, that's a perfect example, Kylie. Thank you so much. So that is our whole reason and our purpose is to see the unseen. So bees and butterflies that see in ultraviolet, the little creepy crawlers like lizards and snakes. Some of them can even see in infrared. And infrared is by heat signature. So if you can imagine being a snake and actually being able to, they actually, they smell through their tongue, but the lizards see in heat signatures, bats through different ways. So there are ways for us to be able to tap into that. So when I say we're tapping into the unseen. What that means is that you're tapping into the field of energy that you are infused in. This is part of that soul technology that has been removed from us. So in ancient days, these were things that were indeed written and they were hidden in order for them to be revealed at the right time. If you have heard of, the Dead Sea Scrolls and other um, sacred texts that have been discovered and are now being translated, that they're discovering that those are ancient texts originated from the Bible, but they are actually being translated into the original Aramaic language, which means that some parts of it have even been removed and those instructions are now being added back in. As I was given this information, for me, that's super important to understand that I am always given information through channelings and in my mind first. And then I go and look and be like, well, what was that? What was that? I need to understand this a little bit more. And then I will go in or spontaneously a conversation will come up or so I will be switching channels and it'll spontaneously appear on the television because I have developed a way to say, okay, universe, okay, God, show me. Show me those signs, show me those messages. And when I am in the question, I am always in the asking for it to be revealed back to me. So the universe communicates to us and through us. It is up to us to be aware. And when we are able to get into this access point by getting our mind into service to our heart, by calming our left brain in service to our right brain, we begin to settle into ourselves. And when you settle into yourself, you open up into the entire world around you. When you open up to the world around you, you begin to see your infusion with everything. You are not separate. When you begin to discover that you are not separate, you begin to understand the subtle sensations of your physical body, images that just appear in your mind, words that just might pop up. You might have a memory of a particular event. You might be guided to a certain thing, and you might not have any awareness as to why. I call those, yes, I don't know why, but I don't know why, but I feel like I need to do this thing. When you do that, that is that inner guidance. All of the universe is speaking to you. It's up to us to pay attention. So, when I was very, very, very new to this, all the way back in 2004, I was really in the process of overcoming material things and in the process of purging and releasing and letting go and lightening the load. And so many people, when we're on the spiritual journey, that's the path we're on. So as you do this and you're tapping into it, you begin to open up space. Mm. Someone here is really in the process of purging and cleansing out closets, like literal proverbial and closet. I'm drawn in this particular area. So I don't know if this is Caroline, if you're literally going through like boxes and boxes and clothes, and I see books and books, books. Okay. And you're on mute. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I do have a lot of books, but I'm
Okay.
seriously I'm thinking about going through my closets and getting rid. It's time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. And so this is part of the process. I've got chills with this again too. So it's part of lightening our load. Our physical environments are very reflective of where we are within ourselves. So when we feel this deep need to let go, cleanse out, clean out closets, purge the stuff, release, get rid of, and we go through that is because we're going through this period, within ourselves as well. And what that does, again, I've got chills. Okay, so I feel like also Gina D'Agostino, I feel like somehow it's in a state, somebody else's stuff. So are you going through like somebody helping take care of all of their things, going through that? Okay, so I see you nodding your head. Okay, so having to really take care of it for other people as well. Now, this is the other part, is that where we have one is an internal process, our own personal environments. And then we have what we take on from another, and then their environments and their stuff. I feel like this is interesting. You're really extending yourself in a way of like, I shouldn't even be doing this. So I don't know if it's like for an ex mother-in-law or somebody that you knew in the past that you're like, why am I putting so much time? Does that make sense to you? Okay, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Yes, it's actually my current partner that
Okay.
I'm with. I'm doing 6 years of his taxes that he didn't do. And it's a big
Okay.
project, and we're having issues in general also.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot. I feel like I'm giving up a lot of myself to do things for him.
And that's really what I'm feeling.
This is interesting. You're really extending yourself in a way of like, I shouldn't even be doing
There's
this.
a delay.
I don't know if it's
There's
like for
yeah,
a very strange delay. So let me see.
mother
I have to put somebody on mute.
that you're like, why am I putting so much time? Does that make sense to you?
Okay. I think I got it. So there might be a feedback. Okay. So you can see on one, but you can hear on the other, Gina?
I'm fine with both.
Okay, very good. The other Gina, sorry.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so now we figured that out, no problem. So thank you. Yes, Gina, I'm coming back to this because I really do feel that there's so much energy and draw being pulled towards somebody else and the cleaning up of their stuff, the clearing out. And so here would be really symbolic of two different things, of where we're clearing up ourselves and then also what we take on from others. And that is super important as well. What I also love, I just really want to just add in, super important here. This is so beautiful. So Vinaya, that it's really beautiful to have your Hita here as well, your daughter, your children, because they will learn through and by example. And she is so pure. So at the very, very beginning, if we saw briefly a beautiful image of Vinaya and her daughter. And so being that just comes in so strongly. She's so intuitive, by the way. I feel like you have two children. So I don't know if one is actually being taken care of. So Vinaya, if you can hear me, yeah, we can come back to that.
I have 6 of them, Maria.
6. So do you have, I feel 2. So like if there are 2 that are really young. So if the 4 are older, but 2 still really young?
2, the older 2 is 19 and 15. Then there's a mid one who is 10 and 7. And this one is the youngest, who is 8 months old. I have a 4-year-old.
I'm thinking of the 8 and 4, because that's what I see as 8 and 4. So the 2 youngest ones, because I feel the rest of them older. And so because they are under 7, they're really in that place of very, very open, that we go through these phases at around age 7, that we begin to solidify more into our experience, into our beliefs, into what we observe into the world. And so with the 2 youngest ones, they're still in that really, really open space. All of them are in right, perfect, divine, perfect timing, exactly where they should be. But I'm really sensing and feeling, especially with the youngest, she's extremely intuitive. And I feel that also with your oldest. There's something really significant about the 2, I'm going to call them the bookends, but there's a incredible soul tie between the 2. Your oldest is a daughter, girl? Yes. And your youngest is a girl as well, the baby?
Yes.
Okay. There's a soul connection between the 2, really significantly. And we can delve into that a little bit more, but there's something really incredible there. Whereas one really opens the other, there's just something really beautiful. That what I'm seeing is like this intertwining dance. This is what I'm seeing in my mind's eye. There's a lot of imagery there. So I can share that a little bit more here in a moment, but I'm just sensing that for the most important part of this is the as you tap in, as you have this language, as they discover you, and it is really about discovering language. Okay, we all have this inner connection, that spiral that is there, that is that God spark within, that is that piece of the undilute, the absolute. It is like I recently heard this. It was one of the most beautiful quotes, and I think it's Copernicus that says, when we look at the night sky, is that the night sky is actually little pinpoints that actually leak the light in. Can you imagine that? That they actually leak the light in. And that literally is true. We are that. We are in a vast sea of eternality, okay? That you are a pinpoint of light where the light seeps through. The most difficult thing is that when we are in these earth experiences, we forget that. And everything about our earth experience takes us away from it. So it's not by fault, it's not by anything that other, just a system. As we bring up our children into this world, they will show us the magic that they are. But then we literally, deliberately, and little by little, we kind of, it succumbs and it kind of, we settle into the world. So our job as being these adults are coming back to it. So we're clearing out space within ourselves, clearing out our proverbial closets and our closets and our literal closets. And we're also going to be very aware of what we're allowing within our experience. So, Gina D, I want to call you Gina Dago, Gina Dago, D'Agostino. So yes, when we really do put our time and energy and efforts towards others, and this is one of the things we have to be really careful of. When we are in service, as I would venture to say that almost probably every single one of you are here because you care. You care about the world, you care about what's happening, you care about how you appear in the world and how you want to be, making a shift and growth and change. And these are the things that we're learning how to come back to ourselves, how to honor ourselves, how to be in alignment with our best decision, and being able to open up space for ourselves. And that is one of the most difficult things, especially when we feel that another is in great need of us. And that could be really challenging. And part of it is also the understanding that we are here first and foremost in honoring of that you hold inside. You hold something very sacred inside of you, just like every single one of us do. And that is your first responsibility. When we are struggling with making decisions, we have to, with a very simplified way to check in with yourself is this in alignment with the God spark within? That's a big question, okay? How many times have we betrayed ourselves, set ourselves aside, suppressed ourselves, repressed, oppressed, suppressed ourselves for the sake of others, no matter what the situation may be. Now, sometimes life requires it. And that's understandable. I took care of my father, while he was ailing. I needed to put my things aside. That was part of my soul's purpose. That was part of my growth. That was part of it until it wasn't any longer. Okay. So if we get to the point of where it is in alignment, no matter how difficult the choice may be, as long as it is still serving, if it is serving and you are growing and learning something within it, you will feel it. You will know instinctively. That voice within you is wise and all-knowing. That's why we need to, again, drop our mind into our heart, raise our heart up into our mind, bring our left brain into service to the right brain, and allow our right brain to come forward and be able to be accessed, okay? So we can tap into that inner knowing. We know at our gut level, we know by how it feels. Our soul communicates to us and through us. It's a language. It is a language of our soul. And the language is through our mood, our emotions, our attitude, okay? and what we are thinking and feeling. Okay, those are the primary ways that you will, the first indicators. They are primal. We will feel them at the gut level. Okay, so at our most basic, okay, intuition is developed by paying attention to those sensations without our left brain beating it up. Our right brain is telling us, I don't feel I feel a certain way. And the left brain is like, oh, no, you don't. You're fine. You're going to be just okay. You need to do this. You just sit down over there and shush. Okay. And then our right brain's going to be like, okay, but this really doesn't feel good. A perfect way to describe this is the movie, oh gosh, it's another Disney Pixar movie with emotions, the little creatures in the brain. Do you guys, what is it called? Does anybody remember? Kylie?
Inside.
Inside, yes. Inside Out?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay, Inside Out. That's with this a wonderful way. So they have some really good depictions in there of how the brain actually works. It's a wonderful little movie that actually shows how we actually utilize all of this. But again, we are not taught that you are not your emotions. I want to be very, very careful here, very clear here. I'm going to repeat this. You are not your emotions. Your emotions pass. Your emotions communicate something to you. If you are feeling something persistently that does not feel good, it is not a mood disorder. It is something telling you you don't feel good. Now, I also want to be very careful here that there are in need of times that we need medications, that we do have our body secretes all kinds of hormones when we are in states of distress that create imbalances in our brain. And sometimes we do need help and assistance to be able to calm those parts of our brain down. However, we must also do our work. We cannot rely solely just on the medication to make it all better. Take the pill and keep doing what we're doing. Take the pill, but make change. Let it create a sense of grounding and balance for yourself while you are regaining your grounding. While you're regaining your grounding, you can assess and analyze, what do I need to do? Something in my life is communicating to me that something does not feel good. And we got to check in with ourselves. And sometimes those are big, big things. Okay. Big things that we have accepted or received or settled for. Sometimes we're in situations where many people are affected, where we don't want to create harm. So we deny the choice of our soul for not creating harm. However, in this moment, it's super important to explain that all souls that are in your experience are there by agreement. So if you are in a situation where you are feeling that you must make a big change, but it's going to hurt the other individual or individuals, you may also understand that they knew that before they ever came into your environment, before they even came into this incarnation, that you and this other individual or individuals came into this earth plane together. And when we have very, very tough family dynamics, when we're born into families that seem to just be, what is this? Why is this happening? Why are our families dysfunctional? Because those are the places where souls have designed the ways in which we are going to develop. Now, family ties, we have incredible binds together, soul ties together. There are no greater soul ties than that of family. Okay. And even if you were separated from family at the very beginning, that is also by design. That is something that does impact the family from the very beginning. It is still a family connection, even when there's absence. Okay. And even if you're meant to, be part of another family, we have families of choice. So families that we're born into, and then families of our choosing. We have both. The ones that we're born into, okay, those are the ones that we plan, we plan all of it. But may I reassure you, especially when we're here, especially as adults, thinking like, I don't know why I'm in this family. This family doesn't work. My dynamics, they don't get me. There's all of these struggles and these dynamics and these battles, all in the battlefield of the family, because those family ties are those that are most personal. Oftentimes, families will have intergenerational issues that they are healing, which means that they have taken generations, many generations, to be experiencing and passing down in order to heal. So we might have a situation, and we do have this one particular, for example, in my family, is that, 4 generations back, my great grandmother, she was Native, and she was just like in the movie that's now depicting 1823 or 19, whatever that show is, 1889, whatever. It's where the Native Americans were, taken from their pueblos as children and then being put into, either they wouldn't be called camps, but they would have been, orphanages or places where they would have been domesticated. So my mother's father's mother was affected by that. And so that has affected us through generations. So it even affected before her generation. So before my great grandmothers. So there was issues happening in this earth plane at this time in this region of the world, where all of this massive, influx coming of massive change in the planetary system that created a huge split in the psychology of the human condition, okay, that happened across the planet, where so many indigenous cultures with their wisdom and their knowledge were taken. That was also by design of the system to be able to it's interesting. I want to say distinguish, but it's not, it's used in the word of not understanding, it's to put out, to extinguish. There you go, extinguish. Okay, so to exterminate and extinguish sacred knowledge. The indigenous cultures were the holders and the wisdom keepers of all of this sacred knowledge. They had this so instinctively, and it had been passed down. And the most beautiful thing is that in preparation of this, they don't have written language. These are mostly oral languages and oral traditions that are passed down. And in our state of New Mexico, several of our pueblos and our tribes are in the process of being assisted to put their language into writing once and for all, because it was not written, because there was a sacredness about it. There's a sacredness in the word. And so this is why, coming back full circle, we are calling this, again, it is an awakening. It is that true awakening of the hidden. So when we awaken it, what does that mean? So let's break down this term for a second so we can really understand. And I'm going to share my screen so that it's easier just to see. So in this particular word, when we talk about awakening the hidden, so just in the term awaken, that doesn't mean that you're being given something that you do not have. That means that it is already there. It's just dormant. It's not tapped into. And perhaps you might have tapped into it and you're all here because you are wanting to discover what all of this is. There is something that is drawing you towards the discovery and the wanting of this information. You are awakening to your soul within. And that awakening is creating a hunger within you, this need and the desire to seek, to grow your understanding. It's this awakening period, okay? And again, to awaken it means that it's dormant, already there. The second part of it is that it is hidden. So yes, it is indeed there. We search for it everywhere. We will search for it in the world. We will go to sacred places. We will go outside of ourselves. We come and participate in these events. We travel, we participate, we read, we do things because we feel like it is someplace outside of us. And we search and search and search. And so many people will pass in the suffering of never discovering the thing that they want most because they will not look in the one place that it actually exists. And the only one place that it exists is inside of you. But it is hidden in there. And the reason that it is hidden is because they literally try, everything of the system tries to take you outside of yourself. Okay, so even in our, depending on your cultural upbringing or your religious upbringing, you know, some cultures and some religions will even train that you must go outside of yourself to seek those answers. And so, and we don't need to delve into what those are, but you must tap into it for yourself. It is hidden and it is within you. So you are awakening that part that is hidden inside of you. It is already there, and that's where it's located. Now, in order to reclaim the forbidden, so again, to reclaim it means that it was taken. The system of the things, the way the entire earth is created, our monetary system, the way that our entire way of life, okay? Unless you literally disconnect and live off the grid, which more and more and more people are beginning to do, that is the reason why, because they want to tap into something. They want to take back what was taken from them. People are in an uproar. We can see it around the planet. Everybody is in such a state of upset because they know instinctively that somehow some great atrocity has happened, that somehow their self has been violated, and they must reclaim this thing. We all feel it. So yes, reclaim it. And the way that you reclaim it is by declaring it first and foremost and knowing what it is and knowing that it's there. Now, let's break down the word forbidden. Okay. Now, again, in so many of our experiences, including my own, you know, we're literally brought up into these faith-based systems that take us away from faith. They don't, they're faith-based systems, meaning that they're intended to create it, but they give instructions and everything to take you out of it. Now, I taught second grade catechism, which I loved because second graders are amazing. You know, they are still so open and so incredible that they are still attuned into their imagination. So a perfect example of this hiddenness, you know, when I would ask them, you know, where's God? You know, God is like the wind. And I would say, can you see the wind? And they would say, you know, they will wonder, you know, and they would really, really, truly explore and let their imagination run wild. That's how we need to be. We must reclaim that part of ourselves, that sense of innocence, our imagination, our ability to use our imagination. And so let's break that word down for a second, just for a quick second. So to imagine does not mean to be made false or made up. Oh, I imagined it, so it's not real. That's not the case, okay? So we must understand that the word imagination in this sense is to tap into our ability to tap into that 94%, okay? The 94% that you can't see with your physical eyes. Part of that sensing is not just with seeing, okay? So clairvoyance is sometimes images pop into my mind. Example perfectly was with Kylie when we were talking about ultraviolet. All of a sudden I saw bees and beehives and butterflies and fields of flowers. An image popped into my mind. Okay, that's clairvoyance. And so these are things that we have the ability to tap into. Claircognizance is just a clear knowing. I don't know why I know, but I just know. So perfect example of that would be where, you know, talking to Caroline, like, oh, I see closets. Okay, just a clear knowing. So first it was the knowing of the closets, and then an image of the closets came through. Okay, and so we have that ability also. Kylie.
Maria, I don't know if you know that, talking about the imagination and how you say it's so true, I just imagined it, it's not real. However, science and study now tells us that when we imagine that we're doing something, so if you put somebody on a stool in front of the piano and get them to play physically, all of those electrodes go off in their brain. If you sit them on a stool in a completely empty room where there's no piano and say, imagine that you're playing the piano, all of those electrodes go off in the brain. So it is very
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is exactly why, because the brain does not know what is real or imagined. It actually perceives to be both of those exactly the same. Okay. And there's a really incredible exercise to be able to understand the power of this. Okay. So I want everybody to just take a moment. Okay, so I want you just to take a moment. And first of all, let me ask, has everybody had the experience of eating a lemon in this? Can we just show of hands? Has everybody eaten a lemon? Okay, this shocked me once that I did try to do this once with an individual from the Netherlands, and they said they had never ever tasted a lemon before. And so I had to make sure to ask before I say this. Okay, so if we can just take a moment, just relax, and if you can imagine, okay, so let's take a moment, relax and close your eyes if you feel comfortable, do so, or just soften your gaze. And I want you to be able to open up and tap into your full imagination. Be childlike and imagine. So just imagine for a moment that you have a bright yellow lemon, holding it in your hand. And in fact, there's this beautiful bowl of citrus fruit, and you can smell the citrus aromas. Just imagine that you can feel all of the dimples of that lemon rind. And if you bring that lemon to your nose, you can smell the lemony oils. Now just imagine for a moment that you take a knife and a cutting board and you're just slicing through that most juicy lemon. And all the juice just dribbles onto the cutting board. So juicy. And imagine that you're cutting yourself a slice, a big wedge of lemon. Now, using all your imagination, imagine that you bring that lemon into your mouth and take a bite of that lemon. And the lemon just squirts everywhere into your mouth. You can feel and taste the tanginess. It's so tangy. That acidity feeling on your tongue. Just sucking on the juice of the lemon. It's so juicy, it just dribbles down your chin and your mouth just puckers. Okay, now go ahead and let that go. Open your eyes. Now, what did you experience? Who cares to share? Okay, so Kylie.
I could almost feel the zest of the lemon when I cut it. You know, it sprays. And when I did put it into my mouth, a shiver went down my spine from the bitterness of the lemon, as well, as if I really did put it in my mouth.
Exactly. Did anybody have extra salivation? By show of hands. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, who had that feeling, that pinching feeling behind the ear? Yeah, Caroline, yes. That was 30 seconds imagining a lemon. Your body responded exactly as though you bit that lemon. The tingling down the spine, the pinching behind in the jaw, you know, the bitterness on the tongue. 30 seconds of just taking time to imagine eating a lemon. Imagine the language that we use about ourselves. How dumb. How could I be so stupid? How come I did that? I'm always late. Look how awful I am, you know? Our language, our body feels, and the images that we have in our mind matter. And more importantly, the way we think and feel about something. Again, the mind does not know what is real or imagined. And so that is the power of creation. When we can understand how to tap into that by bringing our mind into service to our heart, our left brain in service to our right brain, you create this literal portal where everything unites in the center. It's a crossing. So you literally are bringing as above, so below, as within, so without. Okay? You are unifying these parts of yourself. And when you do this, you create and tap into that portal. It is a vibration and an energy that we have just, like, if we cannot feel it, it's because we've got closets piled up, you know? We've got things that we've put in, we've got other things that we've put over ourselves, other things that are taking our attention, and we've never been taught. We don't understand these things. We kind of scratch the surface and we find a piece here and a piece here and a piece here. And we're trying our best to put all the pieces together, you know? And so when we're able to understand that there is literally a technology, that there is a practical application for using these things to tap into, develop, and connect to that God spark. And that's our purpose. That is what I'm most passionate about, is being able to tap into that. Okay. So when I say that we bring our mind into service of our heart, many times we'll say, you know, that we have to bring our heart up into our head. Okay. Our heart's already there. We are very aware. Our heart, we feel. That's the part of us that we're like, we feel that ache when we're not attached to, but we got to give it voice. Okay. We got to be willing to give it voice. We got to be willing to allow ourselves to be truthful and honest about what we think and what we feel, and being able to use that truth. So let's talk about truth for a moment, okay? So that could be a trigger thing, because people can just be like, "Oh, I'm just telling the truth," you know, not, I'm just saying what everybody's thinking. I'm just telling the truth. Well, no, you're not. You're saying your opinion, okay? So that's what we got to understand. And sometimes people's truth and opinions are not solicited. Their truths are not welcome here, because that's another part of it, is that when we are holding and withholding ourselves, oppressing, repressing, suppressing, so we don't express, we've got to really tap into and understand. And mine came in that voice of, this is wrong. What are you tapping into? These are things you shouldn't be messing with, you know, and those are the parts where we have to really challenge. Now, if anyone here is struggling with really balancing faith with the gifts of the spirit, all of this intuitive way of living, is that's really the greatest disservice that we've been talking about, you know, is that there is indeed, and this was meant for us from the beginning. So now is the time when all of this information is now flooding forward. This time of this new earth is now. Now, I want to talk a moment here that, by show of hands, how many people have experienced something that they cannot explain, either an extreme exhaustion or some kind of intense, massive disruption inside over the weekend? Okay, so yeah, Gina, both Ginas, feeling inside just this anxiousness and unsettledness. For me, I took I have meditative baths, cleansing baths. I do one, at least one a week. That is one thing that I highly recommend. Water is extremely, it is an element of where it is a conductor of energy. So once a week, I'll do a cleansing bath, and many times I'll get a lot of information, what I call downloads or channelings in this. And that happened on Sunday. And I was really in this state of just this extreme exhaustion, feeling like I was half here and half there. I'm already straddled in two worlds. So for me, this was like a massive extreme that I literally just had to go and lay down, and I passed out for like 2.5 hours in the middle of the afternoon, and I never take naps anymore. And I woke up later on thinking that just what is going on? But I knew that it was my body reacclimating. There has been this incredible experience where who's familiar with the Schumann resonance, what's called the Schumann resonance of the earth? Kylie? Okay, Caroline, Gina. Okay. So the Schumann resonance, it's the heartbeat of the earth. It is measurable. Our electromagnetic field is created by this pulsing of the heart of the planet. And it would operate in 7.8 hertz. It's literally a heartbeat. Okay. So if there was like a device that could go into the earth, we could actually hear it. It's heard from the upper atmosphere scientifically. It actually can be measured in the upper atmosphere, these pulsations, okay? Your own heart has the exact same thing, okay? So when I showed the image of the heart, our literal heart, has the exact same electromagnetic field. In our heart, we create this energy. So if you notice this, let me just click on this. Let me make it bigger. Okay. So even notice how even in this image, it is giving off these plumes of energy. Okay. We are electrical beings. That's why our submersion in water is a conductor of energy. If you channel and want to know information, you can just be in a place of meditation while you're submerged in your bath. You know, you can sprinkle them and make it a very ceremonious thing. You know, you can add in some Epsom salt, but I would be careful not to add in too much. Myself personally, I would add in Himalayan sea salt, and I would add in some sprinkles of essential oils. One that's really powerful is lavender. One that I recommend you stay away from is peppermint. Do not add peppermint to your bath water. Your body will be on fire. Okay, it'll sting like no other. Okay, so if you haven't learned that, yeah. So if you do a one micro droplet, but I highly recommend that you would, yeah, just use it as something that you would actually smell. So either peppermint or spearmint that you can smell, even menthol that could open up your nasal passages. So using that, and even chamomile. So some things that you can actually put in, and some people will even sprinkle in some herbs. So if you have fresh chamomile or even lavender, the actual plant, you can do that for yourself. When you do that and you get into a meditative state, what you are able to do is get into this place. If baths are not your thing, okay, because some people that might not be. Some people have this same exact effect when they are doing like an active meditation. I have that same ability when I'm cleaning my house. So for some people, it's when they go on a walk. You must give yourself some activity where you are engaging these parts of yourself. You're not in the place of worry, going over your to-do list, figuring out all of the things, your would have, your could have, your should have, your have tos. That's a whole other thing. That's where we don't want to be there. That's the first place, your mind and your left brain taking you out of service of your heart and your soul, your right brain and the heart. Okay. So if you've got to get to a place to relieve that part of yourself, okay. So if we need to get to the place where we got to relieve all of this craziness, okay, this is the left brain. How do I pay my bills? I've got to go here. What's on my schedule? Okay, how do I do that math? Do I have enough money? I have to call that person. I have this account. Okay, what am I going to do tomorrow? What's that problem? And then we do this. Okay, now what are their problems? How do I help them? How do I take this on? How do I help my children? So then we take on all their stuff. We got to come back to ourselves. Oof, even just talking about that made me a little anxious. Okay. And I'm noticing this little piece right here. and coming back into balance. Okay. And notice that even in this piece, this got some sacred geometry in it. Okay. This little piece here even looks like it's like the start of, anyway, the tree of life. Okay. So we want to get our left brain back into balanced and calmed down. Okay. So anything that we can do to help ourselves calm the mind and relieve the left brain. So getting rid of all of the to-do list. One way is to write that out, journal for yourself to get out all of those things, get out the clutter of the mind. Okay. Sometimes it requires that we clear up spaces. So before I can even get into my mind, like I'm looking around my desk, and I dare not show it right now because it's kind of cluttered, but I'm like, ugh, this is overwhelming to me right now. It's taking my attention, this stuff that has got my mind occupied. So I will take the moment, clear it up, okay, so that I can become into now a clear space. I highly recommend that you designate a special space for yourself. Okay, now we're all women here, and that does not surprise me. Okay, and we do rarely get some gentlemen here, which is really wonderful because gentlemen are now starting to open up into themselves as well. So primarily women, we take care of so many. We have so many things upon us. We're taking care of, you know, we don't need to go through the list because we all know it. We must carve out time and space for ourselves. We must be able to come back to ourselves, because when we are not able to fill ourselves, fill our heart, make space and room for us to quiet all of these things, to do the things that we need to tap into that, we will never be able to tap into it. We'll never get there. We won't feel that intuition. We won't live that spirit guided life, because that is living a spirit guided life. So let's talk about that for a second. Is that it doesn't have to be now we change and alter our entire course of living. In fact, I am not, in fact, I'm saying the opposite. What I am saying is that we must bring intention into everything that we do. If you hear me say anything, you will hear me say this infinitely and a million times over. And I cannot emphasize this enough. Intention. It is what we intend that matters most, because everything else can get very confused. And language is a perfect example. So words matter. They convey meaning. And when one person understands that word in one way, when another person may mean it in a different way, that's why we have to really get to the bottom of it. And again, why it was most important for us to have a foundation of common language so that we can begin to understand these things of the soul. Okay? It's a technology. There is language. When we understand what we're speaking of and we can get all on the same page, then we can begin to have a foundation to develop. So by here just throwing out a statement, oh, there's a technology of the soul, and then we just bypass it, we're like, wait a second. This is at the core of our human existence. This is at the root of our quality or lack thereof of life. If we do not understand this, we will suffer. And this is what we need to understand, the practical application. Practical. My very, very first business name that I ever opened up was Practical Guidance. Because yeah, we can be in these really woo-woo states and where it's, we feel so good and it's blissful and I want to be in this perfect state where nothing bothers me. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go be a monk in a cave where I don't ever talk to people or do things ever to hold that kind of peace in myself, right? We got to separate ourselves from the world to be able to hold on to that. Well, we don't have that luxury anymore. We're not monks that can go into these caves. So instead, we bring in that sacredness into our everyday living. Okay, so we don't have to stop and change everything. What we are doing is bringing the intention of it. into our everyday. And I call that becoming the sacred observer, and where our life becomes a living prayer. Okay, now if prayer is a trigger word, it's just what we intend, is that our life becomes a devotional, our life becomes a devoted way of living. That even when I am brushing my teeth, I'm not telling off my neighbor in my head because their dog stayed up all night. That was a weird example. So whose dog is keeping them up all night? Because that does not happen to me, and that's a weird example. So who like literally has a dog that's keeping them up all night, and the neighbors or somebody's? That's a strange example. Those always come up in truth. Is that happening to somebody now? Dogs barking, keeping you up at night. Nobody? I'm shocked actually. Okay. All righty. Unless it hasn't happened yet. Maybe I'm saying dog, but it could be just an animal. If someone has animals that is literally agitated at night, keeping you up, that's what I am feeling. Yeah? Did I see a show of hand? Did I see a pen pop up? Okay. That's shocking to me. Okay, I'm going to let that go for a moment. Yes.
Maria, could be me.
Okay.
In the house sitting, I've got two beautiful big dogs, two different breeds, but they're always vying for my love. Cuddle me, cuddle me. Okay. And through the night now, because they were crying outside my window, so now I leave the door open and I put cushions on my floor so they can just come and be with me.
That's it. Thank you so much for speaking that, because that's everything that I am seeing. I'm like, they're up, they're calling attention, there's lack of sleep. Okay. Thank you for claiming it, because I'm like, God, that's so strange. The examples don't pop in just randomly. They're actually right on target for whatever somebody might be dealing with. Which is another thing, and I think that might be coming up for a good reason, is because our sleep is very disrupted here. So I'm feeling this. So by show of hands, who's experiencing, besides Kylie because of the dog, disruption of sleep or otherwise, and not necessarily just with the dogs. Yeah. Okay. How about the Ginas? You guys are experiencing? Okay. Yeah. So sleep is one of those other things that is super important that actually helps us. Sleep is absolutely required because that is where our body heals. When we are able to allow our bodies to go into that REM state, rapid eye movement, if we don't ever allow ourselves to fall into that deep state, that's the regenerative state. That is where your body literally goes through an entire system of shutting it down. Your soul literally is alleviated of this heaviness that it has to experience all day. So not only is it necessary for the physical body to regenerate and rejuvenate, to heal itself, refresh itself, but it's also absolutely necessary for the soul. So many of us that are going through awakening periods might be having very intense dreams that are keeping you up. You might have very vivid dreams. So who's experiencing that in the room right now? Okay, so Gina and Caroline, Karen, Kylie, okay, just about everybody, okay? So that is also where our soul is really communicating to us. Oftentimes, okay, now everybody popped up their hand. Now, I bet that I'd say all of you, okay, that our experiences are waking up also feeling exhausted. Okay, like feeling like you're just not sleeping at all, as if you had not slept. Okay, very vivid dreams, and then feeling as though you haven't slept at all. Because oftentimes the soul is literally going through learning phases. When I was first learning this, it was like I was going to school all night long. It felt like I was on the other side going through this intense training. And there were times that I would have these really vivid experiences, and they were so massive that I was working with people and events would happen, and I would be spontaneously like pulled out of dreams. Well, it's because our soul is learning and going through lots of different things. Another thing that you can actually do is, well, setting intentions is super important for us before we go to bed. But if you're also in the state of wanting to learn new information, you could do so like reading a book. If I feel like someone's really shifted from, or oh my God, this is really, I'm all over the place with this, with reading and going to bed. So give me a second. Somebody's writing, doing lots and lots and lots of writing right before bed. So who's doing a lot of writing right before bed? Okay, Dina. Okay, are you also getting headaches? Because all of a sudden I have them. Do you have one right now? That's okay. Thumbs up. So sorry. Okay. Um, are you on a computer or an iPhone? Laptop. Okay. No problem. So I was just feeling just the so intense writing and then just the headache. So you're getting major downloads. Go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had to switch over to my cell phone because my computer was acting up. But yes, I am just have so much going through my mind. I'm having headaches. I get up in the middle of the night at 4 a.m. to write more. And it sounds like, I don't know what's going on. It's intense.
Okay. So it's like, it's a bottleneck. It's like a build up of all this information and you're channeling. Okay, so while all of this happening is all these downloads of information, it's like you can't get it out fast enough because it's all pressed and right there. I know you're shocked with the things that you're writing about. Just trust what you're getting. Okay, I know that doesn't make sense all just yet, but that's okay. It's gonna make sense. So what you can do is actually set intention to say, okay, I am willing to do this, but I need you all to work with me in a different way. I need to be able to have my sleep. So I will commit, okay, because this is part of your soul's purpose. And then you're afraid that if you stop, that it's going to stop, and it's not going to stop, okay? It will not stop. You have the ability and the authority to say when and how this happens. You are having access to a lot of guides that are communicating to you. You're taking a bath every night. Okay,
yes.
so it's okay. Now I know why I was talking about water and how water being a conductor and how to use all of that. Okay, so then you can say here, I allow myself to be used, but in a way that is in harmony with me. Okay, so you can designate times, but then you got to follow through. So if your attention is being called away, oh, like, I see you waking up right before sunrise. I see a blanket wrapped around you. I see you outside. I see journals. I see coffee, and I see the sun just coming up. That is a really good time to do this. Okay. So you can say, like, I need to sleep from 10 o'clock. Yeah, I feel you even like saying 9 o'clock. Okay. Like all the way up until at least say 4:30, 5 o'clock. And then you say, I need this time I need to rest. I need to rest my brain. My body needs to rejuvenate. I need to let the information settle. If you allow me this to let the information settle while I sleep, when I wake up, all of the information will be available to me. I will dedicate my mornings to the sunrise, okay, and writing in this information, whatever feels necessary for you. So I want to reassure you that it's not going to go away and they're not going to stop it and they're not going to pull it from you. You're just so hungry for it, wanting it, and it's coming to you. So when you're able to make that time and say, okay, so when I first started, I was bombarded with a lot of energies and even working with people that I really didn't fully want to because it's really heavy stuff. So then I was told, well, then say. And I was like, oh, I get a choice. And they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay. So then I'm like, okay. Then now I'm actually kind of demanding now. And then they kind of have to file me in a little bit. So just know that this information does come. It's accessible. It's ready. Okay. So writing. Okay, I see other people reading and really absorbing. So Karen, I'm really drawn to you. So you're it's an intuitive book. So about soul and spirit and intuition. What are you reading? You don't mind me asking?
Well, right now I'm not reading anything, but I've been, wanting to read. I have a stack of books that I want to read, and it's all about heaven and all that good intuition.
Yes. Okay. So the stack of books. Okay. So it feels to me as if you were going to read it already, but I feel like it's like, oh, when do I get to it? And then reading right before bed feels like it's too hard because you fall asleep. That's okay. Now, why do I feel like having the light on is not good? Like you want to be able to do it, but you can't. Okay. So I'm sorry, do you sleep with somebody in the bed? Because I feel like somebody else in the bed doesn't like the light. So it's too disturbing.
My husband, but I mean, I read in the living room, but
okay. Because I'm feeling like I want to read in bed because I get tired.
Yeah, and so like exactly.
Okay. Okay. Super simple solution. So like I do see you reading in bed, but I do see how it is very, very relaxing. So like they make these little book lights that literally hover just over, and I've seen where they have these strips that have a light in the strip itself that you literally just put it over the book itself. And then the other part of it too is tuck the book under your pillow while you sleep. Okay. So for anybody who's wanting to learn information, okay. Put the book underneath your pillow and literally set the intention that as I lay down, that the information that you can like literally just scan through it, read a little thing or just put it under your pillow. That while you sleep, that the information begin to seep to you. Anything and everything is possible. I can tell you, like, it's the craziest thing for me is that I'll buy a book and because I want to, and then I never read it. And then before I know it, I'm talking about it, recommending it. And it's like it's like somehow I know the content of it. I don't know, by osmosis. Okay. That's something that I've learned to develop. So it's something that we can all tap into, especially when it's something that we're learning. Okay, so put it under the pillow. Well, all of these different things will be able to help you. And then I also, for yours is the afternoon. So finding time, and I feel like 3 or 4. So what are you doing around 3 or 4 that feels like it could be just for you? I feel like even driving. So I don't know if you're leaving one place and going to another, something right around that time.
It just depends what I'm doing during the day. I'm retired, so I'm either running errands or I'm just home.
Okay. The reason that it feels to me is because somehow like in the afternoon, around 3 and 4, that's either one of two things that you designate that time for either the errands but it feels to me like that time in the afternoon feels good to you for honoring for you. And the only reason why this comes up, everybody, is that in these specific things is to make sure that we have time that we're dedicating to ourselves for honoring ourselves. Okay. So before we end for the evening, I want to really make sure that if there's any other questions that have come up in the process, because we're just barely scratching the surface. We've barely even been able to talk about these things, but there's a lot of ways that we can do these things. Now, as I've been talking to each of you, this is what's coming up on how to alleviate your immediate spaces, by delving into, pursuing that which, gosh, Kylie, I'm really drawn to, again, the bees. It really feels like something significant there that is there to teach you and show you and a calling to this real sacred divinity. It also feels like you understand like the bees associated with the divine feminine and how like this whole structure, I don't know, it's something really incredible all about the bees. So there's bee medicine that is being transmitted to you really, really intensely, beautifully. It even has to do, and I do want to say, the beehive mentality. So there's something that you're tapping into, that understanding, and I want to say construct. And it feels like from a philosophical place, but also just fascination biologically also. Does all these things make sense to you? Oh, you're muted. I'm sorry.
I would not.
It froze.
That I was, I had any affiliation with bees. I do quite like the fact that I'm having to be around them and look after the hive while I am house sitting. So it's interesting that you raise it up. I'm now going to dig a little bit deeper because you've brought it up to see if something resonates.
Yeah,
and being with them was nowhere near as scary as I thought it was going to be. And I loved the hum.
That feels really significant because it felt like something biologically that affects neurology. So that would make sense if it's the hum there, and it feels like something divine there. So not that all of a sudden you're going to become a beekeeper, but I feel like there's some real significant a connection that's going to help you open up into an avenue. The hum makes sense. The beehive mentality and those kinds of things. Okay. All righty. Now, yes, Caroline.
They've actually found that the hum of the beehive and scent, breathing in the air that comes from a beehive, is healing. And I don't know if you have any sense that you might be talking to me, but I have actually recently been looking at starting to keep honeybees soon.
Okay.
I didn't speak up. I'm a gardener, and I have many, many, many gardens that I care for. And so in a way I have a good size, nice, and I've been watching the honeybees at my house recently. Last year I saw 3 honeybees all year. The year before there was so many, and so this year I've seen many again. So I think somebody in my neighborhood has bees. Anyway, I am fascinated by honeybees. I've loved them. I've studied them. That's it's another.
Thank you for speaking up, because so much of what I was feeling for Kylie all of a sudden is like, well, like that doesn't apply and that doesn't apply, but I saw them all. So where is this? So thank you for speaking up. Okay, because it matters, because what you're describing, Caroline, is exactly what I'm saying.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. So, oh, sorry, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I was just telling Kylie I'm jealous that she already has a set of hive to actually watch. It's fun. I used to laugh. My ex-husband had honeybees, and that's how I got into them. And I laughed at him because I'd come home from work and find him sitting in front of the hive just watching. And then within 2 weeks, I found myself doing the same thing. 10 feet away from the hive, just watching the bees come and go.
Yes.
It just so soothing. So
Okay. So then that is absolutely, because all of a sudden, because I didn't see Kylie going into being a beehive keeper, but I saw all of this. So that absolutely applies to you, because I'm seeing like this incredible fascination, and that there is bee medicine. So when I say medicine, it is like that there is a harmony, that there is an energy that all animals, all life contribute. That when we feel a need for connection in any particular way, whatever we feel drawn towards actually comes to us. And so, yes, thank you so much, Vinaya. I really, really appreciate you being here so much. I loved it so much, and I'm glad that you're here. Okay, so this is super, super exciting. I love that you said about the hum, as well as just even being around and breathing in the air of which they actually are just with and around. There's something really significant about this time, that those who really do take up those missions to usher in and support life forms, gardening, beekeeping and all of those things. I preserve water as well as garden. Water preservation runs within. Those are really significant things, that we are custodians of the planet, that we sense and feel this, and we can do this in a way that is in balance and in harmony. So whatever you feel drawn to in nature, nature will also bring you right into that homeostasis, that place of the access point. Okay, being out in nature. So being in the sun, being around the animals, being around the plants, walking in, and all of those different things. So yes, thank you, Kylie, so much. I really appreciate you being here, and especially all the way in Australia. I know you're into tomorrow, so thank you so much. May you have a beautiful day, as the rest of us may be enjoying our evening. So thank you, Kylie, and hope our paths connect again. All righty. So any other questions that have come up for you yourself, or that you would like some clarification on? Gina, I know that we kind of touched on some things, but I really also want to make sure that you feel supported in that. And if you have any other question for clarification, the most important thing I feel is, as we choose ourselves and we walk these paths of soul, that we are all in an alignment with it, that souls that we are in experience with, that we all each serve, and that there are moments where we have to, step into and claim self and allowing another person, because we can make it so easy for others. I really also do feel, I see easels, paints, canvas. So who's currently painting? Is that for you, Gina? Canvases and paints? Karen, you're painting?
I am, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are you doing that in the afternoon?
I just do it whenever.
Whenever?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is interesting to me because I saw the reading at night, but what I was seeing you doing is something in the afternoon, really honoring and carving out time, painting and anything creative, whether it's coloring in even one of those coloring books, anything that we do that puts creativity into, we tap into that right brain. And when we are engaged in activities that are creative, we train the left brain to be in service to the right brain when we engage in creative things. And that's a really good way to help train ourselves in that way. So I really do see you going in that direction. I even see like going outside. So if you have a little folding easel with little things inside, and you want to go outside and kind of sit next to some place and kind of draw or paint. I see a plant. I see you painting a terracotta plant in something red. Do you have something like that?
I do.
Okay. Wonderful.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I'm real funny because when I want to do something, I have to be in the mood. I don't have certain times that I do things. I just, if I'm in the mood, that's when I do it. I paint whenever I'm in the mood. I go outside and in my garden when I'm in the mood. I just can't just do it. I have to be, I have to be wanting to do it.
Are you finding that you're not wanting to lately?
I'm sorry?
Are you finding that you are not wanting to do it lately? Or you're doing it less?
Yeah, I am.
And that's why I'm really feeling is the need to bring yourself back to it. So don't schedule time, but make sure you're intention is everything. I really am feeling like this inner calling, because one of the things that when we tap into creativity and doing these things, we tap into this place. It gets us into that vortex, that God spark place. And the hardest part is that when we don't feel like it is when we need it the most. Even for myself, it's when we don't feel like it, it's when we need it the most. And so, yeah, sure, it feels great, you know, but there are times when we really have to challenge ourselves. So if you find that it's starting to become less and you're feeling like you're falling into a certain mood, or things like are feeling a little bit harder, it's because like there's that need, that call to come back to something. So maybe just explore it a little bit more. So again, and it's the hardest time when we need our tools the most is when we want to use them the least, and we even forget that they're there. And so when we can have these moments of consistently giving ourselves, I call it filling up our cup. What we're doing here is filling up our cup, making sure that we are feeding ourselves, taking care of ourselves, connecting to ourselves, having time for ourselves so that we can connect. Because when we don't make time for this connection, the rest of our life does not work well. And so that's what we're trying to establish first. So this week, as we move forward, if you choose to join another, but I'm going to have these recorded and being able to be posted. So if you happen to miss one, that's okay. I want to begin to explaining and explaining these in steps. So tonight was all about understanding what the soul technology even is, what does the term mean, and how do we work it. And so this is just a beginning of a conversation. There's so much more to this because every single one of those parts, there's a multitude of what I call a wisdom codex, that there is indeed a wisdom codex, that this wisdom codex contains wisdom keys. And these wisdom keys tap us into our heart. And when they tap us into our heart, they unlock this portal that we have access to. So our mind has a codex with all this wisdom that we can utilize. There's a whole codex for the heart that we can tap into and utilize, all these wisdom keys. Even the left brain has an entire. So we're just barely scratching the surface. And so I wanted to make sure to give some really tangible things that each of us can focus on as we move forward, what your soul's calling for you, the things that can help you in feeling better right now. Each of you were able to receive something, and then also how to engage with it. But if you need some additional support, you know, and or something didn't quite make sense and you want to ask about it, you know, now would be a great opportunity, or shoot me an email, you know, or, you know, I'll be available to stay on for just a few moments if you would like. Okay. So it's a perfect auspicious time. It's 8:08, which is my favorite numbers. The 8 is the infinite. The 0 is the God number, the Alpha, the Omega, never ending, never beginning, eternal, like the promise of a ring. And again, another infinite. Okay, so thank you all so much for being here tonight, for allowing me to share with you. And I pray for each of you and your journeys. Holds a special place in my heart. And I wish you the very, very best of the rest of your evening. So thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
Alrighty. Thank you, Karen. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. You have a wonderful evening.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.